Guys, the video I have for you today was several days in the making, probably 17 hours worth of work. 14 hours of it was basically just yesterday. It is the full installation of the Gree Flexx system from beginning to end, all the steps. And learn from my mistakes in this. There's a right way to do your flares, and I tried all the wrong ways first, and it gave me a lot of trouble. It was a hard install to begin with, and then I had that problem. So stay tuned, here it comes. I'm going to shoot a couple of videos. In this one, I'm going to install heat strips and set my dip switches. This is replacing a 2.5 ton, so we're going to set it up for a 3 ton. This can either be a 2 or a 3, but right now I'm fixing to do these heat strips. I have the top off, this panel off, these screws right here are out, and there's my plate for my heat strips, and my breaker's going to mount right here. These heat strips do have holes in the back here. That they need to go in, and I've got to put my screws back in. Alright, there's actually a slot. See these screws sticking out? There's a slot for them to slide into. And right now they're not wanting to slide in. I gotta loosen up the other ones. All right. Tighten these back up. I'm gonna need an extension to put that last screw in. Get that screw in the bottom, and it's time to let's see, how am I going to do this? Let me get a screwdriver. There we go. We just have to, this needs to plug in. There we go. I'm gonna try to tuck these back here. I may put me a zip tie on that right there. This box does slide out, but it has a little lip that piece goes under. I'm gonna open this up. I'm gonna mount it, then open it up and set my dip switch. I'm gonna pull this out the way to make it easier to get to those dip switches. Alright, there's my dip switches in there. This is a 3-ton air handler. And here we are, the 36,000 BTU. We're going to do level 2 because this was originally a 2.5. So it looks like on both of these, heat and cool, this is confusing now. The 1 and 2 are black and the 3 and 4 are black. The black indicates the position of the switch, not the white tip of the switch itself. So 1 and 2 need to be on and 3 and 4 need to be off. As you see, this is defaulted to the high level in 3-ton. So I'm going to turn 3 and 4 off. I'm trying to put that where you can see it. These switches are actually upside down. So 1 and 2 are on, 3 and 4 are off on both heat and cool. Come back up here, 36,000 BTU, level 2, 1 and 2 are on, 3 and 4 are off on both. Doing it like that, I have the ability to turn up the fan speed in the future should I want to. I do think I should point out we have L1 and L2 over here. Those are not used when you have a heat strip. We're just going to hook up power right here. There are no knockouts, so we're probably going to use a unibit and tap in right here, because this is going to be horizontal discharge to the right, which means I got to flip this coil. In order to flip this coil, you got to basically take everything off the front. I'm gonna get these panels off, including this little panel here. They all got to come off. And there's a little piece down here on the bottom that also needs to come off. Now that we got these panels off, the coil actually stays in this position, but you've got to move the horizontal drain pan, and this piece down here, this metal piece, is what helps to hold it up. These are 1/4 inch with a Phillips head in the middle. Alright, so all of this should just slide out. We literally just flip this pan over. All right, we're taking this pan and just turning it to this side. Oh, that is right next to my power right here. Just make sure it's on that side. All right, now that that's back in, we just start putting things back together. This right here to help support your pan when it's in the horizontal position. It helps hold it up. Literally all we got to do is just reassemble everything. The coil itself does not change position. Got these two back in, and something I should note, this pan slides right up against this bar right here. My last step is to remove this and reassemble all of this. All right, so this air handler is now ready to be set in place. I've already pulled out my little knockouts from my drain here. And in this next segment, I'm gonna set the dip switches on this condenser to tell it it's a 3-ton and not a 2-ton. Now we are fixing to make sure the dip switches are set correctly in this one. I think it's already set up the way I want it, but let's check. All right, this little chart here tells us what we need to do and set the dip switches. If you see, I'm gonna make this a 3-ton, so 1 and 2 should be in the on position. That black right there means that is on in 1 and 2, and 3 and 4 is off. This is upside down, but you can see that 1 and 2 are on and 3 and 4 are off. I do not need to change anything on this. Guys, we are on site early in the morning to get started on that Gree Flexx. This is the condenser we're replacing. Air handler is way up under here. This is our air handler. We just got to work on getting everything cut loose and then trying to get it out of here. All right, the guy outside has it pumped down. I need to remove this to get that blower out of there. We're going to take this apart piece by piece. As you see, we have to navigate a maze just to get to a clear space. All right, so that condenser that had 2 compressors in it was extremely heavy. And getting that air, we pulled the coil out, and the coil to that air handler barely fit through that little door right there. All right, now we gotta disconnect the air handler, and we disconnected that little plenum and a TY off the front. We need to disconnect the back. All right, we got the air handler at least set in place, but we got a lot of work to do. All right, guys, we got the equipment set in place, both the condenser and the air handler. That air handler was a job because the ductwork was in the way. There was a sewage line that's in the way. Yeah, it was difficult getting everything back there, but we've got everything in place. The rest of it should be just hooking things up, wiring it up, flaring our connections, and torquing things down. So we're getting lunch. I'll be right back over there in a sec. There we got a new disconnect put on and a surge protector here. I assume we're going to have some kind of light on this, so let us know the status. I'm going to come in the back here with the line set and bend it up to our joints. I don't do installs every day, but I thought I would make time to help them. We got the return hooked up. There's no insulation in that transition. We're going to have to wrap it, and then we're going to have to put all this back together. But we are really close to, except for that, we're really close to getting this thing wrapped up. Use this little drill to drill my hole, and we used on the bit in the bricks outside for the tap cones, and this little drill did it just fine. It's got plenty of power.
Huh? Yeah.
Am I in his way?
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, that looks better right here.
That right there's tearing up my knuckles.
Oh. Yeah, that looks good right there. Real good. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that looks good. All right, the torque setting on this needs to be 70 to 75, I think it was. And this one's 35 to 40. And I got it set on 36.9. Everything's bending on me. All right, in the process of torquing these, oh my word. This one I did to 74, the 3/4. I had previously bent this when I was trying to straighten this up. This little piece of metal here ain't strong enough for the torque we're trying to put on it. This one was, I did it at 74 and it bent the whole thing up. Like I said, there's not enough support to be putting that kind of torque with this little thin piece of metal here. You do have to have this adapter. Forgive me, my phone's been ringing constantly while I'm out here, which means I'm gonna pay for this tomorrow. I'm fixing to do a pressure test on this. Now we have to pull a vacuum on both of these lines because it is, the evaporator coil holds pressure and it's got freon in the evaporator coil, and it also has valves there, so we have to pull a vacuum on both these lines. Oops. But you're only pulling on the line set. All right, we're doing a pressure test on this. Let's see, test tightness. 281.7. Now we're just doing this on the line set. Valve this off. 281.5. Let's watch it for a little while. Sometimes my camera has been on when I didn't know it was on, and sometimes I'm gonna have to check on that when I hear it humming, like it needs a capacitor or something. We're pulling a vacuum on just the line set. I think I'm gonna let that run. This is one time when it's good to have a micron gauge in your manifold. So we're just pulling on the line set now. And I had to correct myself. This is at 75 Newton meters and this is at like 36 Newton meters. On this thermostat, we are just going to, we're going to move this blue, discontinue the orange, we don't have a Y2 anymore. Alright, that looks black and that one looks orange. Alright, my My blue is going to blue. Orange and black are going to be discontinued, and we're going to use this brown for coming. I got the thermostat on the wall, and I pulled a vacuum on my manifold and my hoses first, and it was having trouble getting into a deep vacuum. So I'm fixing to go check on that air handle real quick, make sure it's wired up correctly. And as you see out here, we got brown to common, blue, yellow, white. There is no G out here. And red. Okay, I've been having multiple troubles pulling a vacuum. So we're fixing to pressurize this. Whatever we got left. Guys, the 75 Newton meters on that thing, the rated torque settings aren't tight enough. We're having to redo this one. Let's just come down here. No, I ain't seeing no bubbles now. Oh, thanks be to God. While I'm down here, this is my breaker, my power coming in, my ground's right there, thermostat wires, yellow, blue, W1, red, common, and green. This one's still bubbling. I thought these flare fittings, oh, that one's bubbling too. I thought these flare fittings were going to be great, but they've been a nightmare. So I open it up and look at this flare. I don't see no flaws on that. I'm actually going to go get some nylog, put that on there. We're going to torque these back down and try again. I did the other one the same way. All right, let's turn this down to all right, let's pressurize again. Well, that may have done the trick. I torqued them to the right torque. but I used Nylog this time, and I used Nylog, and that seems to have really helped. I'm getting down below 760 microns. Before I couldn't get below 1200. All right, we were able to get that down to 500. I have turned these off. Everything else is still open, and I'm watching this. It has not risen above 800. I'm having to do this one yet again. All right, that one, that looks perfect. I'm gonna tell you something I did not do. I did not try to deburr this. That's where some of my problems have been coming from. Is the deburring that kind of scars it up. All right. All right, after many a trial and tribulation, I did not deburr this. I just went ahead and used my flaring tool and did it right, and used plenty of Nylog, and now it's nice and sealed. But oh my God, that was a hard lesson to learn. We are finally up and running. There we go. Holy smokes, this has been, these fittings have been a nightmare. I guess I know everything about how to make them right now, but that's been a, oh, that has just been a steep learning curve. Now, we are cleaning up now. And I am monitoring this, watching to see if we get any error codes. That suction is nice and cool. We're revving up a little bit. We are here to do a final inspection on this. I'm gonna have to do some work on that one, but this one right now is cooling just fine. Let's take a look under the house and see how that looks under there. Over here we got a new disconnect, surge protector. Put a surge protector on the indoor air handler as well. Here's our disconnect with the surge protector and our air handler. One problem I have found, they pulled this out and didn't put anything in it. So I gotta go get me a plug. This was a real job. All that duct work right there had to come loose, and we had to redo everything. That April air filter down there, we're gonna have to come back and deal with that. Alright, so let's go get a plug for that real quick. Alright, so the final product in this, these joints right here were really difficult. I got my plug in. This one's ready to go. Well guys, I know that may have been a long video, but I'm happy with how that turned out. That's my first install of one of those. I may actually install one of those on my house. But doing those flares, that's a critical part of installing those. If you can get it right, you'll have no troubles. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all tomorrow.